work across many sectors, many areas of human endeavors. So as a result, any policy that addresses any of this area or any of this sector or aspect of human life, such a policy is called a social policy, and the policy, in essence, is formulated to actually deliver essential services to people, meaning that the policies is directed at improving the overall well-being of any individual, group of people, or community at large. So essentially, we made reference to the relevance of social work in this respect, which actually cuts across equitable service delivery without any discrimination. You discharge or you deliver services to people without discrimination. If I governor of a state, you look at every part of the state as your constituency. That is, the whole state is your constituency. You do not limit provision of essential services to your own local government. You take overall interest of the people into your heart, and you want to make their life better. The extent to which successive administration in the country does this is another question. But you should know that social work frames advocacy for vulnerable groups as well. These are special people. These are people that deserve special attention. It also links micro-level practice to macro-level change. Every change that you see at the national level or at the macro level is actually triggered from what we experience at our own micro level. That is to say, there's no entity that is called national. You can only identify an entity at the grassroots. That is, you can find people belonging to one local government or the other, or one community or the other, or one family or the other. But where is the family at Abuja? So whether you live in Asokoro, or you live in Gariki, or you live in Gwagwalada, you belong to a particular community where you live. So this is this actually
00
established. Please, can you please allow us to continue this class without hindrance? Stella, who is speaking? Somebody is speaking. Is it Joma? Ijoma, please. Ijoma, please. Can you please put your mic? Imagine.
It's nonsense thing, eh? No, they agree compare with this lecture.
Ijoma, please mute your mic. So, as I was saying, as a social worker, you need to look at this and understand very well what essence does any policy serve. So this afternoon, I will quickly, we'll start from policy formulation process. And I wouldn't know whether we touched that last time. Did we touch that? Have we discussed that? Can you please remind me? Anyone? Anyone? Have you not talked about policy formulation process?
I don't think we discussed that because I was trying to go.
It's all right. It's all right. Let's quickly look at it and we'll move forward. Essentially, formulation is the stage where social problems are actually converted into actionable public policies. We have social problems in the society, and we want to translate it into a document that will guide action at solving such problem. That is why it is called a formulation stage. The formulation process is that stage where social problems are converted into actionable public policies. You want to formulate a policy that can be acted upon, that can be a guide in delivering our desired welfare services that we want to give to people. For instance, there is this problem of, let's take female genital mutilation as a case. The female genital mutilation is a problem in the society. So for us to now act and ensure that this is regulated and ensure that this is curbed or this is eliminated in our society, it's a problem. There is need for a policy that will guide action for everyone, every stakeholder that is involved in this. Perhaps that policy will describe or will define the kind of action the government will take, action the health officers will take, action the community leaders, the women leaders, youth groups, community-based organizations, religious leaders, traditional rulers, and so on and so forth. Even the women or the young girls that are affected, what action will they take? How do we describe their actions? So this we need to convert to public policies. So what are the key steps in policy formulation process? One, problem identification. I want to try to share my screen, but it seems it's not actually giving me the permission to share. So let me start so that we can follow me as I go. Let me just try if it can go at this time. If that goes, it's going to be a plus for us. Let me see. Let me see if this can be shared. It's a PowerPoint. It's a PowerPoint. You can see it's select an image or document. Let me see if it can go by. Can I go? No, let me go by sharing screen. No. Let me try again. Can you see any screen? Hello?
So I cannot see it.
You cannot see anything. Sorry, maybe because of the device I'm using. Let me try and look for that. Anyway, before we round up, I will try and see what I can. Don't know. I don't know. Sorry. Allow display over the. Okay. You cannot see anything. Oh my God. Yeah. Even as at now, you can't see anything. Sorry. And then once
No.
it's okay. And then share screen is here. Cancel start record casting. It cannot not allowed. Okay. Sorry, let me I'm trying to can you say anything now? Not at all.
Not at all. Not at all. Maybe.
Not at all. Sorry. There is a technical issue here, and
We
I'm
can.
I'm trying to do this.
So we can continue.
Yes, I want to, I will continue, don't worry. It's all right. So, like I was saying, so we have, sorry, it's not coming up again.
Problem identification.
Problem identification. In this case, you want to identify the problem we have in the society, which means before you can say you want to formulate a policy, there must be a problem. You assess the current situation. What is the problem? Just like you are writing your project. If you want to write any project, it means you are doing any research. Let me say, you are conducting any study. It means that that study, we normally state problem. That is the problem statement. You state the problem you are addressing. Why are you embarking on such a study? Why are you conducting that? Why are you doing that research? There must be a problem. You must have identified a problem. So, which means for you to formulate a policy, there must be a problem. Let's take education, for instance. Before you can say you want to formulate another policy, or you want to revise, you want to review the policy that we have, or you want to revise it, what are the problems currently affecting the implementation of the current policy? It is when you can identify such problem, then you can come up with another policy. There is a national gender policy in the country being used. Why was gender policy formulated? Is it not because of gender inequality that persists in the society? So these are areas that you need to look at. You identify that problem. When you identify the problem, you now do what we call agenda setting. In the agenda setting, you consider the situation surrounding that problems, all the factors that may even account for such problems. What are the risk factors? What are the challenges, the current, that are currently hampering societal good? You look at everything and you try to pick from whatever you have. You set your agenda. You want to know which which ones will come first, which ones will come last. You set the priority. You put all options on the table, and you now say this is the way you want to go. So after identify your problem, you try to divide that problem. You try to know what are the root causes of that problem, or what are the causes of such problem. How best can you actually solve the problem? You look at all this holistically. Then you go to your policy design. Which kind of design do you want to adopt for the policy? Then you want to you want to make it legitimate by involving some people to be part of that policy. So in that case, you require some other stakeholders, you require some other experts to be part of that. When they are part of that problem, then when they are part of that process, then you are trying to make your policy a legitimate one, and you want to involve everybody that is important to be in that. So that is an area that is very, very important. So in that aspect, that is why when you see the National Assembly or any legislature, either national or the State House of Assembly, when they want to enact any law, what they do is, after considering the law, they must have written the draft. What do they do? At that stage, they call for what we call the public hearing. After discussing their matter, they call for public hearing. During the public hearing, they allow stakeholders to come around and bring in their own input. They allow the practitioners, they allow policymakers, they allow people, community, civil society organizations, public analysts, people of different opinions, experts. They bring them all together to do what? To sharpen what they are proposing. So from that public area, they get the views of the people outside their own parliament. So when they get that, it is this they're going to discuss when they get back to their assembly, and they are going to discuss further before that bill can be passed or it can be rejected in any way. So who are the actors that are involved in this? I mean, the stakeholders that are involved during this particular exercise. We have the government ministries, political leaders, like I mentioned, NGOs and civil society, at times international bodies, international agencies, development partners, academic and policy researchers. You look at all this, these are the actors that are involved, and many others, community leaders, religious leaders, ordinary members of the society, all the relevant stakeholders, they are involved. They are all actors. Then during this policy formulation process, you look at those factors that can influence the formulation of this policy. That is when we talk about ideological factors. Those factors within the ideological context. Like this government, the present government at the national level, that is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government now, administration. When the administration came on board, he had his own ideology. I mean, he had his own ideas of what or the outlook he wants Nigeria to be. That is, he has a focus, he has his own dream of this country. That is why he came up with this renew agenda, renew hope agenda. This renew hope, he has his own ideas. All his ideas are actually covered, or all his ideas are captured by that renew hope agenda. The overall ideology he has about Nigeria, what he wants Nigeria to be, those ones will influence that particular ideas of his or of his party or of his government, will influence whatever policy that will follow from that government. And of course, you've been seeing all this manifesting from his idea of what the kind of Nigeria he wants, the kind of Nigeria he actually dreams of. So if another person comes tomorrow, he will also have his or her idea. So that is about ideological content. The economic conditions, the removal of oil subsidy. This decision by president was informed by economic considerations. According to him, Nigeria has not been making any profit. Nigeria has not been making any gain. Putting subsidy on oil for long has not given the expected benefit, has not actually brought expected benefit to the entire nation, to the citizenry of the country. Hence, the need to remove that oil subsidy. And that actually informed his own policy of no more fuel subsidy or oil subsidy during his own administration. That is why he said, subsidy is gone, oil subsidy is gone forever. That oil subsidy is gone forever. So you can see that one is as a result of economic consideration, several policies will come up. So that is about that. Then we'll talk about cultural policies as well. Cultural factors, cultural norms. There are policies that actually address cultural norms. As a result of some cultural beliefs, cultural practices, some policies are put in place. So all the factors, all associated factors with culture, with cultural norms, beliefs, and so on and so forth, will actually influence that particular policies. Okay, what about the international agreements? In the international agreement that Nigeria has entered into, so many of them, many international conventions, sub-regional protocols, sub-regional agreements, international agreements, regional one. All these actually influence our policy. Let me give you an instance. Look at the Sustainable Development Goals, Agenda 2030. Very soon we'll get to 2030. This particular agenda, when it was agreed upon, Nigeria was a signatory. Up to now, Nigeria is still a signatory to that convention, to that agreement. So whatever policy Nigeria will formulate will definitely address someone will be conditioned or will be affected by factors or by those agreements, because Nigeria cannot live in isolation. Nigeria will definitely be affected. Its economic policies, its social policies, and everything will drive the kind of aspirations or expectations, or will derive some inspiration from such agreement or convention that have been agreed upon internationally, even at the regional level, by the African Union, or by the sub-regional level, the West African, what do we call it? ECOWAS, Economic Community of West African States. So these are international agreements that must be respected. And of course, the National Social Protection Policy draws many inspirations from Sustainable Development Goals. For Nigeria to reach that, to actually achieve those goals by 2030, that the Nigerians' plans, economic plans, national plans, strategic plans, even some national plans too, they also draw inspiration from all these international agreements. So essentially, I'm saying that for a policy to be formulated, a number of factors will actually be given consideration. A number of factors will be given consideration. Again, I think, well, with this, what are the tools and techniques that can be used in policy formulation? I've told you the public hearing, stakeholder, we can talk about that, stakeholder involvement, like using a public hearing and some other some other tools that can be of importance in this case. So let us look at the case study. The case study we're going to use at the formulation, you can actually check. I think I gave you an assignment to do on your own, even though you are not to submit, that you should look at a policy in your state and find out how that policy was formulated and what are the contents of that policy document. Have you done it? Have you done it? Stella, have you been able to get hold of one policy?
Sir, I thought the assignment was to know the difference between social policies and social work policies. I don't know. You said we should get a policy from our state. I didn't know, but I had to look into the difference between social policies and social work policies. That is what I did.
Okay, but you're aware of? Are you aware of any policy in your state? Yes. Yeah.
The assignments.
Yes.
The assignments before.
Like the assignment before that one.
No, the assignment you gave us is the difference between social work policy and social policy.
Okay, but I'm now asking, are you aware of any policy in your state? Any social policy in your state? Can you just tell me
We should
one?
have now. So we will go back and give you feedback. We should have. Yeah.
You should have, yes, yes, yes. That is great. That's great. So please find out, get any social policy and go through that particular policy, read the content of the policy, and investigate the process of formulating that policy. And with
Okay, sir.
this, you get to understand more about the formulation of policy. Maybe before we end the
Policies.
class, I will actually, I will, I will let you know some of areas that are involved when a policy is being formulated.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so like I said, we have the agenda setting. I think you identify the problem, you have the agenda setting, and you also have the formation and adoption, which actually talks about you design the policy. I want to explain in details. Then you talk about implementation, and we talk about evaluation. So essentially, I want to give this category, this particular definite steps to you for you to understand better. From agenda setting, like I explained to you, before a policy can be created, there must be a problem, like I said, and that problem must either call the attention of the government or the attention of some people. When that problem call the attention, then it is addressed. I think I can also add this example of youth restiveness in the Niger Delta, drug abuse by the youth, menace of Alimajiri in the north. And what did that do? The menace of Alimajiri in the north actually led Jonathan government to do what? To formulate a policy establishing Alimajiri school in the north. You remember that. Then motor park crisis. What has it led us into? So many state governments actually came out with different park system and other things. Instead of using the NURTW, because they are fomenting trouble, they are giving us wahala, they are creating crisis here and there. Every administration in any state is either this NRTW support this administration or did not support that particular administration, and as a result, there has been crisis. And what did they come about? I know of Oyo State. I know Oyo State came about this park system, where the government will regulate their activities, and that has actually that has actually ensured that has actually promoted peace. Let me just put it that way. Because of road accidents on our road, incessant road accident on our roads, we have the road safety. We have road safety. We have safety policies on the road, and all of this, banditry, terrorism, and so on and so on. These are problems that are peculiar to Nigeria, and government identify all this. They have policy for all of all this as well. So again, we also have formation and adoption of that policy. This means we want to have an approach to solving a problem. The legislature, executive, judiciary, the various group will be involved at this particular level. At this particular level, there may be contradictory proposals, and they will have to pick from there. And that one, they're going to adopt the one that is best. Then we have the implementation. At the implementation level, get money. At the implementation level, who are those that are to implement? Those that formulated the policy are not to implement. They are just the policy makers. Some people will implement. From your own opinion, who do you think implement policies? Who implement policies? Yes, who implement policies? I don't know this man. Somebody is disturbing us. I don't know.
Well, I
Who
think that should be
implements
the
policy?
executive. That should be the executive arm of the government.
No, it cannot be the executive. The executive only they are policy makers. They
No,
formulate
is
the
it
policy.
not?
They are
Is it
part
not?
of.
Sorry, is it not the legislature that makes the policies?
No,
The
they make
Senate.
laws. They make laws.
Okay, they make laws. Okay, okay.
Yes, they only make laws. The executive, they are part of the. They could be part of the policy formulators. I mean, the legislature could be part of it, but essentially their duty is to make laws. But they are part. They could be part of policy makers. Do
Well,
you
like the
understand? So
implementation, you have
yes,
the commissioners and all that. They execute those
ministry.
policies.
No,
I
are
don't
you
know.
sure are you sure the commissioners implement policies? They are policy makers. If you are the technocrats, mostly the technocrats implement policies. The career officers, they are policy implementers.
Workers. Mhm.
Whatever the commissioner, if you are in a ministry, the commissioner will only give you this is our policy, this is what we want to do. These are our policy directions. So it will now be given to different departments. How do you now achieve, how do you implement this particular program in your department? The commissioner will not implement that one for you.
No, no, no.
Definitely,
The
yes, of
ministry.
course. The commissioner will not implement, but the
It will not
commissioner will see
implement.
to it. We see to it that
Exactly.
it is implemented.
It is implemented. What concerns the commissioner is the outcome of
Is to
whatever
see
you
that
do,
the
and you take it
outcome
to
is
the governor.
okay.
On
Yes.
supervisory ground.
Yes,
You
That
get
is
it.
just
supervisory
it's just
control.
that it's the ministry's workers that do it.
So it's the civil
That is it.
servants. Actually, it's
It's
the
the
civil
civil
Exactly.
servants
servants that do it.
Exactly.
it's the civil
Exactly.
servants that implement.
That is just it.
Exactly. Exactly. So the successful implementation depends on the complexity of that policy, the coordination between those putting the policy into effect and compliance. So at times, mostly it is the civil servant. That is why they say the civil servant in any state, you are the engine room. If the civil service is not there, can governor implement the policy he has in mind or the policy they have formulated? It's not possible, no matter how. If, let's say, the government decides to build or to change the education policy that we have today, or let's say the government decides to give every household a living wage, or every household a kind of a palliative translated into cash, let's say 10,000. That's the idea of Mr. Governor. Every household in Anambra State must get 10,000 naira each. Who will go and distribute the money? Who will get the money to the beneficiaries? The governor cannot do that. The commissioner will not do that.
Of
What
course,
they
it's
will
going
do
to be the civil servants.
is the
Civil
civil
servant.
servant. They will ask the
Maybe
director
through NGOs.
through
NGOs could,
whoever.
because yeah,
Consultants can be hired,
yeah.
Yes.
but the permanent secretary of that ministry will be responsible, will be accountable for the amount that has been spent on that, isn't it? Because it's the permanent secretary that will ensure that this is well implemented through the relevant department, who will give reports, the outcomes, the impact, and everything. I will give the report to the commissioner. The commissioner will take it to the Mr. Governor. This is what has happened. Mr. Governor will not know in a particular ward, maybe 3 or 4 people did not get as expected. It is what you report that he will act upon.
That's
So
true.
you get it. So the implementers are quite different from those that formulate that policy. I think you understand that. So after implementation, we'll talk about evaluation and termination. Of course, MIE is an integral part of any program or anything or any policy. When monitoring and evaluation is absent, it means that you cannot actually track the progress of that particular program. You cannot actually find out whether that program has any outcome or impact, like I explained the other time. So invariably, for any policy, there must be an evaluation framework in that policy. So that would determine whether the policy is making any impact or not. That will also allow the policy formulator or implementer to know that whether the progress is being made or not, or whether there have been gaps or there are no gaps. If there are gaps, then there is need for review, or there is need to go back and re-implement that particular aspect. Then, of course, the policy will definitely terminate. Now, when a policy terminates, it means that that policy has reached its lifespan. Then it will terminate. So essentially, evaluation means determining how well a policy is working, and it is not an easy task, of course. Many people are involved in evaluation. Even people on the streets, they evaluate policy. If you go out of your house now, and you go into there and ask people, what has been the effect of oil subsidy removal? You see people on the street, they will be assessing this government. They will be evaluating what this government has done since inception. So it's open to everybody. It could be people inside, it could be people outside the government. By using cost-benefit analysis to try to find the answers to questions that people will put on that particular policy. In other words, if government is spending $1 billion on this policy, are the benefit derived from it worth the expenditure? You know, for government to formulate a policy, they spend huge amount of money to formulate a policy. Does that expenditure, does it worth it? Can the benefit that will be derived from that policy be compared, be commensurable with the exact expenditure on the policy that is being formulated? Is it commensurate? The cost-benefit analysis is based on how to come by data that are subject to different and sometimes contradictory interpretations. Evaluating policies, so many people, they evaluate, some give qualitative evaluation, some give quantitative, some give biased evaluation, and so on and so forth. But there are standard way of evaluating policies. We'll get to that later. Policies that is terminated is deemed, sorry, I will give you time to ask questions, to make comments.
Okay.
Policy that is terminated is deemed to have been obsolete, not working, or it has lost its support among the interest groups and other stakeholders that placed it on the agenda in the first place. When a policy is no more relevant, which means it's terminated. You think about new policy. That is why revision is necessary, or review is important. Like I told you the other time, policy or policies, they have their lifespan. National gender policy, I think, is 5 years, either 4 or 5 years, I cannot remember now. But when you check the policy, you will see it there. It will be clearly written. National social protection policy has 4 years for its implementation. It was first formulated in 2017. So which means by 2021, another one was coming, which means another one in the sense of being reviewed. It may not be thrown away the whole document or thrown away the whole policy, but it may be an amendment as a result of some changes in what we have. Look, if anybody is looking at the policy on communication, for instance now, last 15 years, the form of communication that we have, the nature of communication that we have now, and the one we had then, you will note that the policy then will be different from, will not be relevant today. The policy used for communication or telecommunication in those years will not be relevant today. when we are talking about mobile communication, when we are talking about, when there are so many channels of communication, in many schools, when you write your research project as a graduate or as a postgraduate student, you go to library, you continue to read manually from journals. You get journals of 1950, journals of 1918, 1920, and so on and so forth. You want to read for you to get your literature review. Very, very strong. But today, how many people go to library? If you have a phone, you have a very good phone with internet connection, your library is there. In fact, you'll be tired of searching, because when you search for an item, for an article, you will see several articles coming up to you. And you want to download, you read and read and read. You need not go out from your bedroom. Today, you don't know where I am, and I'm facilitating this course. Where you are, I don't know. Whether you are in your dining, eating, or you are in a party, I wouldn't know. But you can actually get to hear me clearly. There's no need for us to come together physically when it is not absolutely necessary. So you can see that because of changing situations, that will also call for change in the policy document and policy content as a result of current situation, or some parts of the policy may not be relevant again. So it leads to policy termination and you want to review. So that is an aspect that is very, very important for you to note. Okay, sorry, just a minute. So I want you to look at a policy in your state. That's another assignment, please. Get a copy of the policy in your state. Get to know, investigate the process of formulating that policy. Everything will be written in that policy. Investigate the process of formulating that policy. Find out all the aspects, all the areas the policy actually touches. Like I've mentioned, those who will implement the policy, those who formulated the policy, those who will implement. Then when is the review due for that particular policy? The MIE of the policy you should also get to know. Just get to know all those. Hello?
Yeah, please take it again.
I said get a policy in your state. Any policy that is socially related. It could be child right policy, it could be policy on women, policy on education, it could be policy on social welfare, it could be on gender, any policy. It could be state policy, it could be national policy. There are so many policies all around. It could be national social development policy, or social development policy, or community development policy, and so on and so forth. So what I'm saying in essence is that all I've mentioned, investigate the process of making that policy, number one. Number two, who are the policy formulators? Who formulated the policy? Number three, who are to implement the policy, the implementers. The implementers, those that will implement that. You get that when you get to the implementation strategy or implementation framework and the institutions. Then the MIE, the MIE component of that policy, get to know when will that policy be reviewed? When is it due for review? So please find out. And when we meet the next class, we're going to discuss that one after the other. So I'm going to take you one after the other. You're going to lead the discussion. So apart from this, we want to look at what are the social work engagement in policy development. What is our business by discussing this policy? What's our business? When social workers must move beyond practice, and we must look at a way of influencing structural causes of marginalization. You know, one of our duties is to address marginalization in the society, or one of our roles as social workers. People are marginalized. If resources are well distributed, there will be no need for marginalization. Even your place of work, many of you will complain about we are being marginalized in our department, or I am being marginalized as an officer, I am being marginalized as a director, whereas preference is given to some other directors, or is given to a director above you. You feel marginalized. So when a segment of a society or an individual in the society is marginalized, it's our big role, it's our big duty to actually address that marginalization. What can cause that? What can influence that marginalization? Essentially, that is part of our duty. You know, as social worker, we want to look at societal well-being. We want to look at the overall long-run well-being of an individual. So, and marginalization is an aspect that we always look at. Then, what are the roles? What are our roles as social workers in policy development? Can you get me? Or can you just join me in giving me some of the roles that you think we perform as social workers in policy of this? In policy development has been discussed.
Yeah, I think as social workers, we can partake in the identifying of the problems.
Yes.
Because, yeah, we are in the society, we know what the problems are, we know what the former policy implementation is. After evaluating it, you know whether it is still relevant or not. So as social workers, we should be able to know this, and we should be able to come up with the idea that, well, this policy is not working. So there is a need for a formulation of another policy. So I think we can come in identifying these problems.
Thank you.
Yes.
Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Great. I'll be trying to address that. Can you see this as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Formulation process.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. You see the discussion questions. What factors determine whether an issue gets on the policy agenda? I think we talk about that. You can also think about that, and you discuss it among yourselves. How can research influence policy formulation? So please just think about that. So we are here. So social worker, like I think Stella's just talked. Am I right?
No, that was Pali, please. That was Pali speaking.
Okay, that was Pali. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate that, which means you are following very well, because as social workers, you are involved in so many areas during policy development or policy formulation. So as social worker, we look at our role as policy advocates. Okay, it's not in this set, not in this particular program. I think for those in the professional postgraduate diploma, when we talk about core competencies of social worker, I think you are also being taken through that course as well. Okay, I took it in the other set. So in this
policy, that is advocate and campaign.
Yes, well, then you now want to you challenge policies that are unjust. you also advocate for good policy in the society. You see, when you are a good advocator or you are a good advocate, you turn to be proficient, you turn to be competent, you turn to be a real professional. So what you profess will definitely manifest in you when you become a policy advocate. You want to see society having good policies that will drive our development to greater heights. So, social worker, you are a policy advocate. You look at, which means you have to abreast yourself of different policies that we have in the society, and you want to look at those that can address our problems and can also bring succor to those that are being affected negatively by the current policy. Then you are also a change agent. Of course, you know that. Yesterday, social work yesterday, not yesterday that was Friday. Oh, social work before now, what was it? What it used to be? You know, today it has taken different dimensions. Tomorrow it will take another dimension. So only one thing that is constant is change. You, as an agent of development, as an agent of good, as an agent of long-run well-being of the society, you must look at those changes that will bring benefits to people, that will make people to live well without compromising the present efforts of those that are in the saddle now. So you are a change agent. You are also a policy analyst. You know, the one I've been talking about policy process. If you don't understand the policy process, there's no way you can analyze that particular. You can really understand the policy itself. When you know the process, you know where you can come in, you know where you belong, you know where you can make your own inputs, and how best you can also influence that particular process. So you are also a community organizer. Of course, one basic difference between us and other practitioners is the fact that we meet with people all the time. We also meet with the community. We relate with them. With our relationship, we become a community organizer. Any social worker that is not good at organizing community may not be a good social worker. I wouldn't know whether you know, if you have ever read the story of the history or biography of Barack Obama. Barack Obama started as a community organizer. He started his political journey as a community organizer in America before he came to limelight. From the grassroots, it's as a result of that effort that actually that actually projected him or promoted him to the limelight, from the grassroots to the local government, from the local government to the state. You know, he was a senator for some time before he became the president of America. See how it started. What I'm saying in essence is the fact that you, as a social worker, you can start from somewhere and effect change in the society. And look at the change Barack Obama brought to America, even to the whole world, when he was the president of America. So you are a community organizer. You should know how best to organize community. And when you know how to organize a community, passing message, delivering advocacy messages to them will not be difficult for you. Mobilizing them for change will not be difficult for you. Mobilizing them for any policy review or any policy formulation or their participation, when you are a good community organizer, you are good to go, and you are going to be so competent as a social worker, and you're going to be effective, you're going to achieve. And invariably, the society will be better for it. Then we'll talk about advocacy as well. advocacy. You talk about advocacy. Like somebody mentioned advocacy in your other course when you are talking about competency and professional competence, ethics, and so on. Though your core competencies, about 13 of them, or about 9 of them, or thereabouts. 9. Abi, 9.
Yes, sir.
Yes, about 9 of them. I wouldn't know whether you have critical thinking as part of your competence, or as part of the competency expected of you.
Yes, sir. Critical thinking.
Critical thinking.
Yes, yes, sir.
So that one, when you have that, you are more than any other person. When you have all those competency, you are more than any other person, and you have the sky is not your limit. You can also enter the sky and explore the sky. So we want to look at advocacy and lobbying. In advocacy, you build a coalition. Hello, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Social work, chapter 3. Are you with me?
Yes. Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay. So advocacy and lobbying, we want to talk about building coalitions. You're talking about writing policy briefs, engaging policymakers, participating in public hearings. Then these are areas of advocacy and lobbying. You want to build coalitions, you bring some other people. You cannot do it alone. You bring some other people in so that you can form a coalition, not the political coalition they are forming with the ADC today. I'm not talking about that. That is about their own interest. I know you are aware of that. People moving from APC, moving from PDP, moving from other party, moving from Labour Party to form a coalition. Just like that, it's similar. But you want to form a coalition for development, not a coalition for self-interest, not a coalition for self-aggrandizement, and so on and so forth. But it's a coalition for societal good. So you bring those of similar ideas, those with ideologies that can bring change into that policy. You come together. When you build that coalition, it is very easy for you to make your advocacy very strong. Then you also know how to write policy briefs. I'm happy many of you are in government. You know how to write policy briefs. Policy briefs are those you can take to State Executive Council, that the State Executive Council will see to it as this can be adopted as a policy in our state. You must have witnessed so many of that. As a director, you may be asked to write some policy statements that will be used, that will be presented at the State Executive Council meeting for them to deliberate on. You know, at the State Executive Council meeting or at the ministerial meeting, mostly those meetings are policy related meetings. They are policy focused meetings. They are not implementation meetings. You do the implementation at your different departments, as your different units, by different officers and relevant personnel. Then how do you engage the policymakers to know the kind of policy they will put forward for those that will make them? Like the executive we have been talking about, the executive arm of government will want to look at that. How do you influence them? How do you advocate? How do you let them know the right thing to take as input of their policy? It is you that will guide them as social workers, because they don't know, they may not know. Even if they know, they may not know how to translate it into actions. Then participating in public hearings. I mentioned public hearing the other time. When you hear a House of Assembly is organizing a public hearing, look at what they are organizing the public hearing on. Is it socially relevant? If it is socially relevant, you must attend that public hearing to know how it affects how it may affect some marginalized group in the society or some people with special needs, or how it can affect some stakeholders that will be involved in our own intervention as social workers. We must look at it. Professional responsibilities as well. Look at what is happening the Chartered Institute of Social Work Practitioners of Nigeria. Like, we are actually building your competencies through all these courses, just to expose you to what we do in social work, just to let you be proficient. That is why this course is Social Work Proficiency Workshop or course that will actually equip you with necessary tools that will enhance your practice and will ultimately lead to quality service delivery. What are your professional responsibilities as dictated by the Chartered Institute of Social Work Practitioners Act of 2022? So you need to know all this one. Then we'll also look at our engagement as regard ethical considerations. You must have discussed much about ethical consideration in the competency class. In this, what are the ethics of our profession? You need to know this so that the ethic in the profession will not in any way clash with the cultural beliefs, socioeconomic beliefs, and so on, and religious belief, and so on and so forth. Even the fundamental human rights of your clients, of the people you are advocating for. You need to do this, meaning that you have to represent your client voices ethically, in which case the interest of your clients will not clash with your ethics. For instance, people talk about, I wouldn't know whether in this class I mentioned this particular legislation in Anambra and in Kano. I wouldn't know whether
Yes,
it is.
sir. Yes, sir.
Some people, the human rights activists will come out, they are arguing that they are denying people their rights because they are coercing prospective couple or prospective people that want to marry. They are actually coercing them to follow certain formats. They are coercing them to follow certain process. It's like you are violating their rights. You are actually trample on their rights. That's the angle. That's the argument of the human rights groups. They are looking at autonomy of everybody's right. As a girl, you have right to your bodily autonomy. So as a man, you have your own right. So in this case, you have to look at it. How do you balance those considerations? As a social worker, you need to look at this with your critical thinking and some other tools that you have. How do you avoid partisanship? You are a social worker, but tomorrow or today or yesterday, PDP was holding rally, and you are the one holding flag. You are in the forefront. You are in their campaign train. And tomorrow you want to work as a social worker in that same community. Do you think you will succeed? Because if you go to that the same community and some people are in APC, and what you have brought as a social worker as an intervention, or you have come for an advocacy, it affects all the members of that community. But yesterday you were there campaigning for PDP, whereas not all the community are in PDP, some are in APC. Do you think those one will listen to you? You must avoid partisanship at all times. These are ethical considerations that you gave. When you, as a social worker, you must not be partisan. Upholding the dignity and agency of an individual. Dignity of everybody is very, very important. The dignity and worth of an individual is very, very important. You must respect that as a social worker. And what that individual can do. An individual, so many other things can come from him or her. you respect his or her dignity, you respect her agency as well. As a girl, you respect that. And of course, you don't bring in some other emotions into your practice. These are ethical considerations. You are a male social worker, or a social worker that you are a man, and you're trying to assist or to help a client who is a female. In that case, you don't bring in emotion. You don't bring in issue of intimacy. That one should not come. The fact that somebody has a problem, you don't capitalize on that. If you are looking for any mate, you are looking for a wife, or you are looking for anybody to be your friend, either girlfriend or woman friend or man friend, it should not be in that situation. You go elsewhere. It should not come from that scenario. It should not come from that condition, because you are being seen as a problem solver. You don't try to create another problem. By the time you bring that in, you have collapsed the whole system. So these are ethical considerations. You may also be a female. The issue of intimacy to go away from your interaction with your client at the point you are acting as a social worker. So, in this regard, you must uphold dignity and agency of every individual or your client. Let's look at this case study. Social workers advocating for fistula rehabilitation policy in Osun State. How do you go about it? As a social worker, you are advocating for fistula rehabilitation policy in your state. I know we have people in Ebonyi here. You have people from Ebonyi on the call. There is a NOFIC in Ebonyi, Abakaliki. As a social worker, how do you advocate for fistula rehabilitation policy to be mainstream into health policy of Ebonyi State? You want to design an advocacy strategy. How do you go about it? You can discuss this question: advocacy and lobbying. How can social workers use evidence to push for policy change, and so on and so forth? So all these are very, very important, which you need to actually look at as a social worker. So essentially, I want you to think about this. What's the difference between advocacy and lobbying? How can social workers use evidence to push for policy change? Policy implementation in social work settings. Implementation turns policy intention into action through programs, budget, and services. What are the elements of implementation? You know, when you get hold of a policy, you will see the implementation strategy. There will be implementation framework. There will be institutional and implementation framework. That is, those institutions that will implement the policy. These frameworks are in that policy. It will dictate and define what role every stakeholder will play, what role and when, and how much will it cost to actually achieve that policy objective. So what are the elements of implementation? Administrative structure. You know, I talk about institutional framework. That is when we talk about administrative structures. Human and financial resources. When we are talking about budget, we are talking about finance. We are talking about how will that policy be funded. I mean, those areas, those sectors, those objectives. How do you achieve those objectives that has been set in the policy? The funding strategy. Who will provide the fund? you want to give out the example I cited from Anambra State, the governor has decided to ensure that every household gets 10,000 per month. Every household in Anambra. So where will that money come from? How do we fund that particular project? Is that particular project, is it in the budget? Is there any appropriation for that particular program? So these are areas that need consideration. Then who are to implement? Then we talk about human resources. Monitoring mechanisms, I explained that the other time. Monitoring and evaluation. What mechanism will be put in place to track progress? Communication strategies as well. How do you take the message to the beneficiaries? How do you get the feedback? That is the feedback loops. How do you get the feedback from them for you to monitor, for you to redesign if need be? How do you get the feedback for you to address any gap that has been identified in the implementation strategy? Then we look at challenges as well in implementation. Challenges in implementation include inadequate funding. Mostly, you ask anyone about the implementation, they say the funding is not there. The funding to support, to ensure that that policy becomes a reality, the funding has always been a problem. Bureaucratic inefficiency. Of course, many people put on some desk. The people put on desk to handle, to implement some of these programs or projects, many of them, they are not efficient. They are not efficient. Some even, they are not even competent. So that inefficiency is there. That is why bureaucracy, they say, delays. Then lack of political will. Even the policymakers, are they ready to implement the policy they have formulated? Are they ready to implement it to the letter? Halfway, they will only celebrate the formulation of that policy. They will televise, they will publicize that the so state has actually formulated a policy that will address gender inequality in the state. But come to implementation, go to the relevant ministry, they will tell you there's no fund to prosecute those programs. They will tell you they have no fund to even implement any of the program. At times, this will not be in the budget. When it is in the budget, the cash backing will not be there. Government at times may even divert its attention to some other program that will bring them personal benefit. So these have been experiences. You are unfit. You are unfit. All these experiences, when it is time, you let us know what you have also experienced in implementing one policy or the other, or any aspect of the policy. Because the political will is no longer there to support that. And at times, there is always this policy somersault as well. When an administration changes, another one coming in may not believe in that particular policy formulated by the previous government. And that is also a problem. Poor staff training, no training for them, for the implementers, for them to have it-free implementation of those policies. Even when there is a training, even where the training is, those that attended the training when the policy was first formulated, maybe majority of them, they have retired. And we have new hands. There are new people on those tables, and they are not trained on the way to implement that policy for people to benefit from that policy. So that's a problem. That's a problem. You can think as many as possible as this problem, as these challenges apply to your state or to you in particular, or from your own experience as well. Challenges, we have talked about it. Implementation models, we have different implementation models. Of course, we have top-down. Top-down is a model. Bottom-up is a model. Hybrid is a model that combines top-down, bottom-up. Of course, the top-down is the implementation that is coming from the policymakers to those that will be the beneficiaries. It will come down to the society. It will come down to the grassroots. But implementations that actually derives its power from bottom, from the grassroots, from the community, from the individual, up to the policymakers. That's another implementation model. Which one is better between the two? Recently, the vogue in development is the bottom-top approach. And that one ensures participation. Participation. It is community-driven, as people see it as their own program, as their own project, because they participated in the formulation, they participated in the implementation. They want to see it as their own. It's not governor something program. They see it as their own program because they participated in that program. So that is why we talk about participatory development. Participatory because it's a long-lasting development, because it is community-driven. And as such, representation is well taken care of. Inclusiveness is also a key. It's also a key word. It's also a key concept in that bottom-top approach. Inclusiveness, community engagement, gender equality, all the relevant segments of the society are included in such an approach. Then we have the hybrid that actually marries the two together, and that one is also a good approach. In social work settings,
you said what is it?
Hybrid. But you said you are seeing my screen now.
Yeah, but it's tiny.
It's tiny. You can expand it from your own device. You expand it. See it now. Can you see it well now?
All right.
Can you see it well? From my
Yes.
own, I try to expand here.
Yes, a hybrid.
So it depends on your device. So we have talked about the role of social workers in policy implementation. You interpret policies to your clients. You giving feedback on implementation gaps. What has been the implementation gaps that you have noticed? You want to bridge. How do you bridge the gaps between service users and policymakers? Between your client and the policymakers, that you have identified some gaps. How do you bridge the gaps? These are your roles. You want to give the feedback on the implementation gaps, and you want to interpret the policy to your client, to the service users. Case study. Implementation of Child Rights Act in Nigeria. Implementation of Child Rights Act in Nigeria. That is a case study. To what extent has that been implemented? What has been the implementation gaps? What has been challenges to the implementation of this Child Rights Act? Discussion questions. Why do some well-formulated policy fail at the implementation stage? These are questions you need to answer. Why do some well-formulated policy fail at the implementation stage? I said the other time that we have well-formulated policy in this country. Let us just put a stop at the number of policies that we have now, currently. When we put a stop at it, and let's begin to implement what we have. Don't let us formulate another policy, new policy. Let's leave that one alone. Let's concentrate on the one we have. They are enough. that can solve our problems. But why do they fail? Please answer that questions. How can frontline workers help improve implementation outcomes? How can you are a frontline worker, how can you improve implementation outcomes? On your desk, you are a director, you are a deputy director, you are a head of an organization. You are CEO of your own company. You are the head of that establishment. How best can you improve implementation outcomes? If you are in government, use your that small table to influence change, to bring change into policy implementation. If you are to implement an aspect of the policy, ensure that you implement it well, giving due consideration to your ethics and giving due consideration to your proficiency and giving due consideration to your professionalism. You as a professional, you need to handle it professionally and ensure that the objective of that policy is achieved within the time frame. Then I think we have talked about monitoring and evaluation and policy impacts. How do we monitor? So let me see if I can quickly take this. I'll go to policy, case studies, and we're almost there. This is chapter 5. Should I give room to, okay, let me take this chapter 5 and we'll put a stop at it. Then you can make your comment because I want us to end this class by 20 to 2. By 20 to 2. So I've actually dwelled more on monitoring and evaluation when I'm discussing the process of policy formulation. The MIE are so essential for ensuring policy effectiveness and accountability. If there is no MIE, there's no way you can track the progress. There's no way you can account to people. There's no way you can ensure transparency in what you have done. There's no way you can measure effectiveness and efficiency in that policy implementation if MIE is not there. So MIE, monitoring, is ongoing assessment of activities and outputs, like I did the other time. Monitoring is like step-by-step assessment of activities and outputs. Every step, you want to look at it, you want to assess it, every step. When every step in this part of implementation process, you are measuring it. For instance, we have in our school, let's just take this course as an example. Every week we have classes, isn't it? When we have such classes, we have what we call assessment. The assessment I give you every lecture time, you know, that is trying to monitor your understanding of what we are doing. I'm only monitoring your understanding, whether you are following me or you are not following. So your ability to answer those questions I give as an assignment, that is trying to monitor you. And sometimes they call it continuous assessment. That is why it's continuous. It's an assessment that is continuous. You only monitor activities and outputs. Evaluation is periodic assessment of outcomes and impacts. In evaluation is broad. You want to look at it holistically. You have formative, you have summative. Formative could be maybe at the end of every week or at the end of every month or monthly, while summative could come at the end of the year, which is annual, or at the end of the project. Summative is always at the end of the project. But in between the project, we have the formative. But in that case, we are looking at the outcomes and impact. I explained the difference between output, outcome, and impact to you the other time. Please go back to that explanation for you to understand this very, very well. The other one is assessing activities and outputs. Output
Sorry,
is
sir.
just
Sorry, sir. I don't know if you can just throw a little light on that because I wasn't really around.
okay. Who is
Thank you, sir.
speaking?
It's Pali, please.
Oh, Spally, okay. Yes, I try to. That is what I'm trying to do now. Output is a level, outcome is another level, impact is another level. You know that those three levels. In output, let me give you an example first. In output, this class, I'm supposed to take you between 12 and 2, isn't it? And now I have taken that class with you. I've facilitated that class with you. That one is an output. The objective is for me to facilitate the class between 12 and 2. And let us assume that we have ended the class. I have taken that class.
Okay.
Number one, that is gone. You understand that? That is an output.
Yes, sir.
That is
Okay,
an
sir.
output. I have achieved my objective of doing that.
Yes.
Now,
Okay.
going to outcome now. The outcome of this is when I took this class with you, I facilitated the class with you. Do you understand what I facilitated or what I taught?
Okay.
Do you understand what I taught you? You know, I can
That's
get
the
to know
outcome.
that. That's the outcome. I can get to know that you understand. You have understood everything I taught. You know, that is a level that is greater than output.
Yes, of course.
Now, let us go to the impact. I taught you, you understood what I taught. What impact, what effect does that have on you when you are practicing? When you are practicing now, can you actually deliver quality service? Do you practice professionally? When you practice, do you make use of those I have taught you? Those knowledge you have acquired, do you apply them? That is impact.
Okay.
I wouldn't know whether you understand that explanation.
Yeah, I do.
So it's very easy for me to assess the output. I can also assess the outcome. I'm giving you the assignment now. When you respond, that will tell me whether you understand or you don't understand, isn't it?
Yes, that's it.
Okay, that is one. That assessment, I can just do it without, but when you go to practice, when you practice, you want to apply that knowledge.
That's the impact.
That's the impact. Does your client benefit from that your knowledge? I can get to know that when I interact with your clients. You know, it actually involves some other people now. When I
Of course.
interact with your client, that is it. Let me give you another example. As a government want to, let's say government, let me go to the example I gave about Anambra State giving out some cash to people, to individual household, getting the household, releasing the household and approving that particular fund, and you are giving it out. You are giving it out to different households. That is output. You want to know actually how many did you give that particular money, the cash? Did you actually deliver it to the number of people that are expected to be given to? Can we count their numbers? Can we get the feedback from the numbers of the beneficiaries? If you can get the beneficiaries, do you give it to them? It's one thing for you to list all the beneficiaries. I want to find out whether you give it to them. Does
The
that
actuals.
Yes. Does that money have effect on the people you are giving it to? Has it elevated their poverty? Has it raised them in any way? Has it raised their status, their socioeconomic status? Or has it raised their own economic status as well?
Impact.
Their economic power, has it improved? Has it changed? You want to look at the change.
Yes, impact.
So in essence, what we are talking about is looking at outcomes, looking at impact. We are looking at the first one, we are looking at effectiveness. The other one, you are looking at efficiency, cost-benefit analysis as well in the outcomes and impact. Whereas we only look at effectiveness on output. But when it comes to outcomes and impact, you look at effectiveness and efficiency. So I think it's 20 minutes to 2. I may not have the opportunity to go further from here. Maybe when we have the opportunity of meeting again. Let me just quickly rush this slide, then I give you time to ask your questions. Then MIE tools, you can use logical framework approach, theory of change, key performance indicator. Those of you in the ministry, if you have ever worked with any donor agency project, mostly they give key performance indicators for them to track the progress of that particular project. Have you heard about that before?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, key performance indicator. You want to know the performance of that particular aspect of the program. In which case, each objective is tied to an indicator. So that indicator, when you meet that indicator, it will tell us that actually you have done well. If you have been able to provide or to provide what we have in that indicator, to meet up with that indicator, it means that that particular objective that indicator is attached to, you've been able to achieve it in one way or the other. Then we'll also talk about social return on investment and so on and so forth. These are tools that are used in MIE and several other tools that others may want to use. Then what are the steps in evaluation? You set objectives, you select indicators. You know, I told you indicators are attached to objective. If you look at sustainable development goals, all the goals, they have their targets as objectives. For each target, there are indicators that will tell anybody that you have worked on this particular objective, that will tell anybody the stage you have reached in your performance on that particular objective. That is an indicator. Just from the name indicator, it will indicate where you are. At times, when you have a bar, then that light will just go. If you have not performed well, it will be red. By the time you cross the middle of your in that performance track, which means that red will turn to green. It means that you are actually making progress. The same thing when you are searching your internet. By the time you first enter your search engine, you enter what you are looking for in the search engine, it will start from red. By the time it's completed, it will bring your either blue or green or whatever, and your what you have searched for will come up. That's an indicator. Then you set objectives, number one, select indicators, collect, analyze data. You need to get data and you analyze using different tools. There are different tools for you to collect. There are different tools for you to analyze. Then you interpret the data. What you have analyzed, you interpret, and you report your findings. When you report findings, you are not only reporting what you do, you also recommend. You make useful recommendations that will be of benefit to the entire system. Quickly, we'll talk about participatory evaluation. This involves communities in assessing how policy affects them, how policies affect them. You know, that is participatory evaluation. I made mention of it. At times, some people call it participatory rural appraisal. It's appraisal, is evaluation because it's bottom top. Feedback loops and policy revision. In this case, data-driven feedback case study evaluating the national homegrown school feeding program. Discussion questions: how does MIE support transparency and accountability? What are the limitations of quantitative and evaluations in social policy? So all this, you can try it on your own. So let me give you the opportunity. You can evaluate any policy. Like the example I gave to you the other time, the policy you have picked in that assignment, that policy you have picked, try to evaluate that policy. Evaluate that policy using these two we have explained. So I want to thank you very much. This is few minutes to 2 o'clock, and I want to end this class by now. So let me give you the opportunity to ask questions if you have any questions, and we can then move forward and call it a day. Thank you so much. Next 2 minutes, please.
Thank you very much, sir, for the lecture. It's been very it's been interactive, and you made it simple for us to understand what policy formulation is all about. Now, at the stage of M&E, there is this issue of feedback. Where does the feedback come in?
At the stage of MIE,
yes,
yes, that's the essence of monitoring and evaluation. When you monitor, when you evaluate, there is need for you to submit a report, and whatever
that report
feedback
is the feedback.
Yes, that is the report.
Now,
you know, in your report, you make recommendation because it is what you have observed, it is what you have seen, it is what you have assessed that you are making comments
that you are going
on,
to feed,
that
yeah.
giving feedback. Yes, and that will inform future policy, especially the implementation. You know, most especially you evaluate implementation.
Yeah. So, is there a way we can get this feedback to the policy makers? Is
yes.
there?
Yes.
And the recommendation, because sometimes these recommendations are just done and it stops at the table of whoever is funding the program. You know, so no. Well, I'm not saying that of whomever is funding the process. You know, let's say you have a donor, you have an international donor, you just give the feedback, What about the policy makers? How do they get this feedback?
Yes.
I think there is a gap there.
There is a gap, you are right, but that is why I mentioned that even from your own desk, you can start the change. Let the change begin from you. If tomorrow you are also in that position, what will you do differently? I mentioned that we have a number of policies that are just line value in the cupboard, in the shelves, and so on and so forth. So with beautiful recommendations, and that is why many of these donor agencies, international partners, they are not happy about Nigeria. We are good when we want to formulate policies, and when they make recommendations too, most times we don't actually follow. But we thank God there has been a change in this attitude. Little by little, they are taking some recommendations and they are being implemented, even though it may take long. So let us hope that things will change better. With some of you coming on board, when you are in a position, I know you will effect change. Thank you.
Well, it's okay. Thank you very much, sir. I think the challenge actually it's getting this recommendation to the policymakers, because it's one thing for the donor agency to just, okay, the job has been done, okay, maybe it has met some of the needs and all that. Yes, but what about the person that actually formulated this policy? How does this person get the feedback? Are they being fed back?
Were they involved ab initio before the implementation of that program? If they were involved, they should buy into the project. And
so that means there's a need to involve them.
Definitely. From beginning. That is why advocacy is very important.
From the word go.
Advocacy, from the word go. Before you do anything, you involve them. By the time their involvement means commitment. And you let them participate in that. When they are committed, they begin to believe in whatever comes out of that. That is why we emphasize participatory. You do not go to the field and you come back to drop the report on their table. You involve them. When you involve them, definitely they will be part of that process. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Do you have any questions? If you don't have any other questions, next time when we meet, please get hold of National Social Protection Policy and go through very well. We're going to use that as our case study, and we're going to examine it in total, what we have in that policy, and we're going to analyze what we have in that policy for understanding. And you can see what are contained in that particular policy. I chose that because it's an umbrella policy document for social protection in Nigeria today.
Or
As
national
revised
protection.
yes, National Social Protection Policy, NSPP. National Social Protection Policy.
Okay.
Protection Policy 2021. If you cannot get the 2021 edition, you get 2017. It's available online.
Okay.
So thank you so much. I want to appreciate you. And until another time when we have the opportunity of meeting, please stay blessed.
Thank you,
You
sir.
too, sir. Stay blessed, sir.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a nice time.
Bye-bye. Thank you.